Oké, we gaan eraan beginnen. Welkom allemaal bij deze virtuele beursvloer. Dit keer niet op een vrijdag, maar op een vrij koude, heb ik net gemerkt, dinsdagmiddag. En het is niet alleen een atypische dag voor een virtuele beursvloer, maar ook de taal passen we aan voor onze Italiaanse gastsprekers. En dat doen we natuurlijk met veel plezier. So let me directly switch to English, because today we have two international speakers on the VIGC stage. Both are working for BOBST, which you of course all know as one of the world's leading suppliers of substrate processing, printing and converting equipment and services for the label, flexible packaging, folding carton and corrugated board industries. I'd like to introduce you to Andrea Pasquilini, who has a past in the cosmetic and automotive industry and joined the BOBST team as a product marketing manager 2 years ago. He will speak to us from within his home base in the beautiful Tuscany in Italy. I also am glad that I can introduce you Patrick Graber, who has gained experience at another label print supplier before he took the position as a strategic marketing manager at BOBST. He will address us from his current working space in Barcelona, Spain. Since this year, BOBST joined the VIGC as strategic partner. For us, this is a very important partnership because we want to expand our memberships much more into the labels and the packaging industry. As you all know, a very important segment within our printing industry with a lot of new business opportunities and also technological innovations. So a segment that, in contrast to other segments, still has good growth figures ahead. With the start of our new business development manager at VIGC almost 1 year ago, we already signed some very important production companies as a VIGC member within the labels and the packaging segments in the Benelux area. So we are delighted to share with you today the insights about the market and the technologies of labels and packaging from a BOBST perspective. Today's goal of this initiative is to give our strategic partner the opportunity to share their new products and services directly and in an accessible way with you, our VIGC community. And before we will start, I have some mandatory and practical announcements. My colleague Lisbeth also today is present behind the scenes for technical support. She keeps an eye on the chat. In the chat function, you can ask general questions, so Lisbeth will answer them then immediately. It is important that all content questions about the sessions today are asked by means of the Q&A. So you can type your questions in the Q&A, and these questions will be answered by Andrea and Patrick at the end of this presentation. So don't be shy, we are looking forward to answer all of your questions. Today's presentation will cover the question on which is the best technology to print your labels. For example, how do you choose the right machine according to your own job basket? And how do you bridge the gap between solutions, optimizing your production floor? I think it's time to give the digital stage to the first speaker of today, and that is Andrea Pasquinelli. The floor is yours, Andrea.
Thank you, Jos. Thank you also for having pronounced the surname correctly. It's not so easy, I know. So it was correct, Pasquinelli. And so good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, and thanks for your participation. So just to say a few more words about BOBST, I would like to use the image you see in this first slide. And this image represents, let's say, our label portfolio, one label portfolio, but it has been, it is expired to the BOBST vision. So what is the BOBST vision? It looks basically at the needs of the stakeholders that are quality, efficiency, control, sustainability, and proximity. And to satisfy these needs, we developed a strategy that is based mainly on 4 pillars. So the first one is digitalization, connectivity, automation, and sustainability. And to deliver this strategy, we have developed a new platform that is called BOBST Connect, that link all the stakeholders, that link them all together, and with the objective to, let's say, improve the process at our customer side and to maximize its productivity in order to shape the future of the packaging world. This is our big aim, and it also concerns the labels industry, where we actively participate with our product line that is called Narrow and Mid-Web. So it's a product line where we deal both with analog printing solutions and digital printing solution. But let's start with the presentation. So I would like to start with a really direct question. So why you are here? I know that you cannot probably reply to this question, but I can do it for you. It might sound strange, but it's exactly the same question we asked ourselves when we prepared this presentation. And the answer is pretty easy, I guess. I guess that you are in the middle of a decision-making process that will take you to the next step or to the next press. Decision-making process that will take you to the next press. So we are here to support you in this process. And so any doubts you have, any question, feel free to ask anything you need to know in the Q&A section. And also you could eventually get in contact with me or with Patrick or with anyone else in BOBST company in order to clear any doubt you have, or to request any demos on our press. Because the aim is really to identify what would be the best solution according to your specific needs. And the needs are exactly the starting point of this process. As you can see in this slide, the pain points, so the needs are where everything starts. What are today converters' needs? Here we have listed some of them. I'm sure that you know all of them, and maybe you also have to add something to this list. So feel free to do it. I don't know if you could also do it in the chat or in the Q&A session, as you wish. And this is basically the result of all the transformations, all the latest trends that are influencing our industry, that are influencing label industry, and where brand owners and consumers are largely involved. So all that you can see here in this slide can be represented, or can be represented taking a picture of the shelf of a supermarket today and comparing this picture with the shelf of a supermarket 30 years ago. So today you will find much more products, much more SKUs. You will find a lot of embellishment in order to attract more consumers. You will find special editions. So, and you also know that today that shelf of the supermarket will change really rapidly. A market study tells us that today the life cycles of a product on the shelf of the supermarket is approximately 6 months. On the contrary, 30 years ago, it was probably around 2 years. And you also know that to the real shelf, there is also the virtual shelf together with the real one. So, and the virtual shelf has accelerated and intensified all these trends, putting pressure on the converter side, especially for what concerns delivery time. So today, converters need to be faster and faster, need to have solutions that allows the brand owners to talk about sustainability, need to have solutions to cope with the different regulations operating at a country level and need to make profit. So this is not so easy, right? So let's get into what could be the possible solution to cope with all these pain points and needs. Patrick, your time.
Sorry, I was talking with myself. So thanks, Andrea and Josh, for the introduction. I will, before we go into our product portfolio and services and whatever we have to offer at BOBST, I think we continue what Andrea was mentioning before. So we asked really ourselves, how would we walk through a decision process if we would be in the eyes of a customer? And we went in to talk to several customers, and we analyzed, okay, what's our process, or what are the dynamics in the market, first of all. And before we go into products or into the vision of BOBST and how we designed our product and so on, let's look at what our products or what we saw from the market, trends we could not influence, and what we see now and what happened in the past. So we know the flexo was always there, so it was probably the first technology to print roll-to-roll pressure-sensitive labels or all kind of label stock. Then in the late 90s, LEP and so liquid toner and dry toner with HP Indigo and Cycon and other players came into the game, which formed until 2 years ago, until 1 year ago, the biggest market share in digital printing with limited productivity, focusing on personalization, variable data printing, and some niche markets which with flex or analog equipment could not do, using those sweet spot and those technologies at its best. Then what we saw starting from 2012 or more or less in the market has been introduced a next technology, which was mainly based on UV and water-based inkjet, which about 2-3 years ago came with the new generation of print heads to quality levels which are comparable to flexo and toner. And this is why we see now a huge adoption and increase of adoption of this technology, not only because of the quality, which is now matching, so quality in the flexo, but also in the digital part is not really a topic anymore. But also from the productivity gains of this kind of technology, where we talk now from 85 to 100 meters per minute, and also the few moving parts, very easy to operate, very low maintenance requirement. And we predict that now we are seeing this technology grow, which will not replace other technologies like flexo and LEP toner. We see that also the toner never replaced flexo. Then we have gravure and offset. It will stay the same. So all the technologies are they have a sweet spot in the market, and they are there to cover a specific market segment. And in the future, we might have look into totally different trends or different technologies. We called it here print and pack, probably because the package or the packaging, it's directly integrated in the product, or we have 100% biodegradable, recyclable labels, and so on and so forth. We don't know where the future goes, but so the message is that all technologies are coexisting now on the current production floor, and this is what we see at our customers and at the conversations we have with the different players in the label market. Also here we see, to underline a bit this message, that we know the conventional printing was the biggest chunk of the cake. And also, if we look going forward in until 2022, digital is growing, but in terms of output in volume, conventional will still stay a big portion of the market. Also because we are there in in much higher quantities. We talk about print speeds of 200-300, and sometimes with CI Flex or whatever, up to 600-800 meters per minute. And then on the digital side, if we go there in detail a bit more, we always, as we mentioned before, toner and liquid and dry toner were the biggest portion of the digital market, because it was the first technology to be introduced. So most customers had one of the, or digital native customers had one of those technologies. Now in recent years, so from 2019, 2020, 2021, we see inkjet adoption growing very fast, and mainly in relation or in next to toner and next to flexo machine, to diversify the product portfolios of customers, to add new capabilities, to use the sweet spot of specific machines, and to look into new applications, into longer runs. We go from ultra short runs with toner to medium to long runs up to 8,000, 10,000 meters per minute. 8,000 to 10,000 linear meters per drop on the UV inkjet machines now, and then we have flexo. This is also what we see here. So first of all, we are happy, and also especially during COVID, that labor market was a very resilient market and is still growing with an average growth rate of around 4%. And it's not supposed to be stopped, because products are consumed, the population is growing, and so their label, it's a good market to be in, and it's very resistant and a growing market. Even though we see that the split of the technologies within the labels and packaging market is differently split. We see a decrease in the flexo, which is very tiny, so there's no real cannibalization of the flexo equipment with digital or whatever. But inkjet is growing because to cover some part of the digital market in toner, and some part of the analog market in flexo. But those three technologies, as we mentioned already, they will coexist, and we predict also, we see it in our portfolio, as we have flexo, CI flexo, gravure printing, and digital UV inkjet printing, that we don't see really a cannibalization in these markets, but actually we see a constant growth in all the three segments. This is a bit the background why we decided to go for UV inkjet technology to develop our digital printing and the all-in-one technology area in labels. As we may have heard before already, BOBST is acting, or it's a main player in converting, coating, lamination, and then also in printing, converting inline solutions. And after in addition to the flexo solutions, we have with narrow mid-web flexo, from very entry-level machines to highly automated machines for folding carton, flexible packaging, with a lot of automation. We added recently also digital machines, or all-in-one machines, which we will look into it now to complete our whole product portfolio and to adapt to the needs of our customers. This is why BOBST is focusing more on digitalization or labels digitalization rather than digital printing as a silo. Everybody is always talking about digital printing. Digital printing will kill analog and will take over. But we see that this is not what the market or what actually is happening. So we talk about label digitalization across all platforms and across all technologies. In order to be competitive in digital, but also in flexo, our customers need or have the need to get more automated solutions, easy to operate because of customers or of the need of workforce reduction, because there are not many qualified workers, or it's very difficult to find flexo operators, for example. It's quite an art to operate old flexo machines. So a lot of automation can facilitate the operations on those machines. Then we talk about process optimizations. It's one of the main points what our customers are highlighting now. Reducing idle times between processes, making processes more integrated. And so this is where we are focusing, especially with our integrated with solution with the DM5 all-in-line, all-in-one, where we have combined analog digital technologies and die cutting in a single software, in a single workflow, to make it as smooth as possible with almost zero idle times. Then also the growing business models, so web to label, web to print, and all those new platforms arising, which should automate a lot of process also from pre-press, will have an impact, or they're already having an impact in bigger companies. Now this technology is also needed to be brought to small, medium enterprises, which have for now a limited application fit in that area. And then another point which everybody is talking about it, and also in our BOBST vision, it's, as I mentioned before, a very fundamental point. It's a smart factory or industry 4.0. So this is a trend, but we see it, especially after COVID, that it's going much faster, or advancing much faster than it used to be before COVID. So what do we want to do from BOBST side? We're looking at covering the entire production steps from the PDF to the final labels with our industry vision and the BOBST Connect, where we connect all the products in a cloud solution. We look at the whole workflow from the pre-press until the finished box. It goes out of the production line of the customer. Then we aim, as we mentioned before, a multi-technology portfolio. So we have printing, embellishing, and converting. And in addition, we have also different technologies. So what we said, in-house, we have Flexo, UV inkjet, water-based inkjet, but then we also have customers have also donors, so there's a sweet spot, and they should also keep this technology. And then in the end, we have a lot of knowledge within the organization, not only looking at labels, but BOBST is a leading manufacturer of converting and printing equipment for about 130 years now. And we can leverage a lot of knowledge and a lot of interests of the different segments within the industry, which is really good for us. So when we designed then the products, we kept always in mind that the customer should not buy a specific machine, but the right machine for the right need and the right strategy to follow. This is why we have on one side our narrow mid-web flexo portfolio. So you know probably from the Master M1 until the Master M3, M5, and M6 for different applications, going from pressure sensitive to folding carton and flexible packaging with different ink sets available. Then on the other hand, we have digital printing solutions with the Mubend LB series. So there we are talking about entry-level solution with 170 millimeters print width at 70 meters per minute, going up to very productive presses with up to 100 meters per minute and 340 millimeters print width with for industrial production, where we talk really about 8,000 to 10,000 linear meters per job. And then a combination of both, where we see a huge demand from the market to integrate different process steps, also to combine or to reduce lead times if customers are aiming for 48 hours delivery or next day delivery, or simply to optimize the customer's production floor, that they don't have to change the flexo schedule or the digital printing schedule, so they can really integrate the DM if they have last minute requests from big customers to print on those machines. It's a very modular architecture, as we will see afterwards, which is the main benefit here. Very short to go over the Movent LB701 and 702 press, as we mentioned already before. It's the same exact technology integrated in two presses, but the print width is changing based on, so from 170 to 340 millimeters width. The very innovative part of our technology, of our Movent and cluster technology, is the patented cluster itself, as you see here on the screen. So every cluster is combined, a combination of 4 print heads, where we integrate with 170 millimeters print width, where we integrate all the ink conditioning, so temperature control, pressure control, and the final conditioning before the print heads, including the mechanics and the electronics for every single print head, right at the point of print. So 1 or 2 centimeters away, you see here the black boxes where we do the final ink conditioning, that the ink gets in perfect status to the print heads, which guarantees a very high quality and a very high consistency across or along the whole run length of the job. We can control every print head separately, and the design is very scalable. So we can put one cluster after the other. We talk now about 170 and 340, but most likely, or probably we could go to 510 to 1 meter or 1 meter 20. So it's easily scalable because you do the stitching and the alignment of the print heads only between cluster and cluster, not between every single print head. And you do the conditioning in per print head in the cluster. So there's not a lot of infrastructural changes on the machine itself to make if you go wider. Then another benefit of the cluster, as the technology allows to be used in with all different ink sets we have now available, so from water-based and UV, we can go to different segments. Now we started with labels, but most likely then we can go also to flexible packaging, commercial printing, corrugated boards, and other environments, which we still need to evaluate, because for now we are focusing mainly on label printing at this stage. Then here we see the Master DM5, all-in-one, all-in-line. We don't call it hybrid because it's the only integrated solution of this kind, with one user interface, one software, which controls the whole line from the unwinding until the die cutting and rewinding, digital module, and the flexo modules. So where we have the same exact Movent cluster technology with UV inkjet heads installed on the press, as you see here with the black boxes. And the machine is then 100% modular and can be designed based on customer needs. If we want to start with a very easy configuration, very small configuration, and then in the future, after 1-2 years, have the requirements to get a more extended configuration, or adding silk screen units, or adding a second lamination tower or whatever, it's easily upgradable on site, and it's very future-proof in that sense. So here you see very short the modularity, every single element from the flexo stations to digital, the rails, as we see here now for the foiling station, which you can have before the engine or before the digital print engine to do print over foil to get different different metallized effects and metallized colors with only one foil, or you move it after the digital print engine just to do foil over print solutions, until the die cutting and inspection and then rewinding. Can everything be integrated and upgraded also afterwards on site, based really on the requirements and the strategy the customer or the applications the customer wants to follow. Here we see just very fast on what's going on with or which solutions we already know from some of our customers, where we build them to do, for example, the first one, a very simple configuration with digital printing, varnish, and die cutting for end-to-end labels, very high resistance labels, especially for glass containers or healthcare products. It's perfect, very resistant, and it can be done in jobs printed in 45 minutes for 4,000 meters. And you have the final label without the need to put it from the printing to or to follow separate production steps offline. And then two very complex solutions. I guess Andrea will know. I don't know if we explain it afterwards. Let's see. But we do multi-layer labels with our flexo stations before, or booklet labels and so on, can all be done now in line instead of 5 production. So now I finish with the digital and the all-in-one portfolio. I would like to give the word to Andrea, and then we come back for the questions and answers afterwards.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. So now let's have a look at the Flexo side, the Flexo portfolio that I would like to remind you also that it's part of the digital, since in the all-in-one solution we integrate, as you said, as Patrick said, we seamlessly integrated digital and Flexo. That's why we talk about all-in-one. And Flexo is important, even because as you have seen in the previous slide, is still today the main technology used for label printing, and it will be also in the next years. And this thanks, I would say, to a never-ending process of innovation that has the main objective of this process is to make Flexo printings more and more automatized and more effective, regardless of the operator skill. So that's why, again, as Patrick said, we don't talk only about digital printing, we also talk about digitalization of the labels printing. So it's a general concept that involves not only the digital side of label printing, but also the Flexo side. And we as BOBST, we have always been at the, let's say, at the forefront for what concerns this innovation process. And here you can find some of the main examples. So DigiFlexo, for example, is the automation of 2 of the most important parameters in printing, that are register and pressure. Then you have excellence, that is related to the automatic job change, both for what concerns the printing unit and also the die cutting unit. In the image on this slide, you see an example of the excellence on our master M6. So basically, while the first job is running, the operators can load the second job on the second shaft that you can see on the image. So when it's time to change the job, the operator just need to push a button, and the machine will perform the automatic job change by itself without any other operations from the press operator. Then we go to the technologies related to color control and specifically to ECG printing. In this case, we didn't invent anything new. I would say that we, let's say in brackets, we simply encoded the ECG printing process in order to make it easily available for any press operator anywhere with any kind of experience and in just approximately 1 month of training. So I don't know if any one of you is into ECG printing you know, if you are printing in ECG, that it is apparently something easy to be done, that you could do on whatever press you want, but actually it is not so easy if you don't have the right recipe. So for example, I get in contact with some converters that started the ECG process on its own, and it took him approximately a couple of years of trials and testing to print properly and effectively in ECG. So this is really a nice solution, especially when you are, for example, into flexible packaging, so you don't have to change the configurations of the machine so often. You will keep the 7 colors on the press, and you will keep producing without having with a really short make-ready time. And last but not least, the extreme configurability of our press. So you can really decide, you can really choose among huge range of solutions for what concern printing, embellishment, and converting. And you could also decide to take advantage of the other printing product line of BOBST Group. So for example, if you are into a shrink sleeve and you want to add a gravure printing unit to your inline flexo machines, we have our colleagues of BOBST and Giorgio that are one of the main experts in this kind of printing technology that could be at our disposal with their knowledge, with their technologies, with their expertise. This is a map for you to get orientated in our flexo portfolio. So in the middle part of the slide, you will find the presses belonging to our flexo portfolio. On the top part, you have the different technologies that you can have on each of these press, and on the bottom part, the applications that you can print with this press. So where you have the gray line, it means that it's something that you can have or you can print with that press. And where you have the, let's say, the slashed lines, it means that you can have part of it, let's say. So we start with the Nova M1 and Vision M1 that are print cylinder mechanical press, mainly dedicated to pressure sensitive labels. And for you to understand, for example, the Vision M1 can have some digiflexo automation, and specifically it can be upgraded with a print, what we call print to Toreco, to control the register. So you cannot have the automation in pressure, but you can have the automation in register. Then we move to the servo presses with the Expert M3 and Master M5 that are available from 370mm web width up to 530mm web width. The Expert M3 is a printing cylinder press, while the Master M5 is available both in printing cylinder and sleeve configuration. And this is the press that makes, let's say, the analog part of our Master DM5. So as you can see here, you can have really everything for what concerns technologies and automation. That's why, again, we say that our Master DM5 seamlessly integrated digital and flexo. And then we move to the Master M6, that is a pure sleeve press, and it's available also in 670mm web width. So it's really dedicated, and it has been developed really for those applications that are mainly for flexible packaging and shrink sleeves. Here you can really take the maximum advantage out of one ECG printing process. So it's really a nice press if you want to be profitable in the short run of flexible packaging, or on the other on shrink sleeves or lamy tube or wraparound. So that's all. We made a brief, let's say, overview on our flexo portfolio. Obviously, if you have any questions, please ask in the chat, or you can contact me or Patrick afterwards, or you can even ask for a virtual or a real demonstration in our competence centers available around the world. So, and in this way, we really would like you to take to the next step, where you basically compare all the alternatives available in the market. And how do you do that? We say that, or at least we suggest to start with your job baskets. So the jobs that you are printing today, what are the run length, what kind of, let's say, what kind of embellishment your customer is asking you, what kind of variable data. I mean, if your customer is asking for variable data on some of these jobs. So we really need to dig into your job basket in order to better understand what could be the ideal solution according to also to your to the technology that you already have in your production floor. Because the aim, as it's written here in the slide, is to use each technology for what is designed. So this is a self-explaining slide. So basically it means that you cannot deliver a really small package to the city center of Paris, for example, with a big truck like the one on the top of this slide. So you can really need to use the right technologies to print a specific label in order to stay competitive in the market and to be profitable at the end of the day. And so we start from what you are printing today, but we need also to look into the future. So are you looking into some other applications? Maybe today you are printing pressure sensitive label and you want to move to shrink sleeves, for example, or you want to explore different industries or different business model. So these are all questions that you need to ask yourself, and we need to discuss in order to find the best fit for your production floor. And here, for what concerns the future, we have listed some of the main trends related to the main applications of the label market. So pressure sensitive label is today the largest category and will be also in the future. What we see is a slightly slightly drop for what concerns the value per A4. This is mainly due to technology improvement, because on the other end, there is an increasing interest from brand owners for all those applications that have an higher added value. So for example, really embellished labels, or peel and reseal, as Patrick mentioned before. It's an application that we can really print on different, using different technologies. Then we have the sleeve that, you know, they are the fastest growing label type because of all the benefits they can offer to brand owners, mainly because of their, as it's called, the 360 degrees of it's a 360 degrees label, so the brand owners have a lot of space to show off, let's say. And then last but not least, linerless labels that, according to one of the latest FINAT radar, it's one of the most interesting applications for converters. So there are a lot of converters really interested in this application that today we can also print on our mainly on our flexo presses. And then finally we get to the deployment of the solution. So you finally decide, or you can you have all the information to decide where to go, if it's flexo, if it's digital, if it's only one. And as Patrick said many times before, you really need to remember that there's no technologies against the other. We really need to have the best combination of all these technologies in order to again, to optimize your production floor, in order to take the right job to the right equipment, to maximize your profitability, and eventually to also increase your product offering. So as been said before, if you want to explore new applications, maybe you need to move or to integrate in your current, in your existing technologies, another one. before getting to the end of this presentation, I don't want to skip the last step of the decision-making process. That is the post-installation. This is what actually this is the theory, but actually I want to highlight that is valid also in the real life for BOBST, because we are really more and more interested on what happens after the installation on the press, and that's why we put at your disposal a worldwide service network that is widely available, and even more than widely, I would say, thanks to what is called the remote service support that make you this that makes this service available for you 24 hours a day and anywhere in the world. And then we have our competence centers, where you can, as it says, but by its name, you can develop your own competence, and you can test material, you can train your staff, your pre-press operator, your press operator. We also have here in Florence the OneECG Academy that could take you to discover the ECG printing process. So I would try to summarize saying that we offer solutions so that the decision that you will take today will be future-proof, whatever it happens in the future. So yes, I got to the end. You're ready to start. Feel free to ask anything in the Q&A section. We are here with Patrick for you to answer your questions.
You definitely convinced me. Unfortunately, I'm not a printer, so I won't buy a press, but really nice solutions. Thank you very much, Andrea and Patrick.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah, maybe you have to be more entrepreneur than a consultant. Yeah, maybe an idea. We'll talk about it after this webinar. So thank you very much, both of you, for this, in my opinion, great presentation of the label market forecast, and of course, also the BOBST oneLABEL portfolio. Also a special shout out to Elisa Bertelli, Marco Manager at BOBST, for making the arrangements of this session. So as Andrea mentioned, it's still time to ask questions to both gentlemen through the Q&A section. So let me check if there are any questions already in the Q&A. I see some coming in. So I don't know, Andrea or Patrick, but what is, from your experience, the customer preference between digital and all-in-one machines? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can start. So this highly depends on the specific needs and desires, or like a strategy the customer wants to follow, and also on the equipment he has already in his company or on the production floor. Because if he's replacing one digital machine, or he has some free productivity still on their finishing lines, probably it makes more sense to go for a digital only solutions, where you do lamination, varnish, or whatever on your standalone finishing machine. Other than that, if you look into really more automated solutions, more faster delivery times, or as we said before, what many customers of ours are going through now, that they don't want to reschedule their production schedules on their flexo equipment, because it takes a lot of time to replace the jobs there for last minute orders. So this, in this sense, it's 100% for the all-in-one lines, because you do printing, varnish or priming, embellishment, and then also the die cutting inline, and you don't have any issues afterwards. You have to finish roll within 45 minutes, 4,000 meters sometimes. So it's really efficient, but it's really, we usually sit together with the customers and we analyze what are the requirements, what is now what are the pain points now of the customers, to understand which solution it's the most suitable one.
Okay, thanks. So I have a question from Ramon. He says it's an excellent presentation. So once again, thank you guys. His question is, do you have experience printing wine capsules with digital technology?
The capsules, I guess it's referring to wine capsules.
Yeah.
We have in digital, not in the all-in-one. We have some customers. They are doing wine capsules. I'm not. Apparently, it's easier than on other digital technologies, but I'm not aware exactly, to be honest, on how they are doing it. I don't know if Andrea knows it, how they are doing it.
Not actually. I don't have a specific experience on this, but obviously something that we could explore. So, I mean, we could get in contact with these participants afterwards to give you a specific reply.
We will share this presentation and also the slides, and we will put your email addresses at the end of the presentation, so Ramon can contact you, and we will also bring you in contact with Ramon. I have a question from Jan, and he asks if you can elaborate a little bit more on BOBST Connect capabilities.
You go, Patrick. Okay. So BOBST Connect is it's a company-wide vision or project which is implemented across all the different platforms, all the different product lines, from CI Flexo to our die cutters to our laser cutters and so on. In labels specifically, we have until now very basic functionalities. So we have we talk about meters printed, the jobs, linear meters in terms of data collection. BOBST Connect should then be we will release on the official release of BOBST Connect. So now we are kind of in a pre-release phase, which all our label presses have already installed since July, but we are going to have the official release in end of January or beginning of January. And there we present new features there, which go a lot more into the cloud, into the integration with MIS systems and so on, with also the workflow management. For now, it's a very, which we know also from other platforms, about a very basic configuration or data, like information for a remote controlling, assistant, service support, and so on, which is common in that industry. And then we are on our Flexo machines. We are not at this stage yet. On other machines, we are much faster, or much more advanced already, where we go into OEE and real-time production monitoring and predictive press care.
Okay, thanks. One other question about peel and reseal and multi-layer labels. Can you do that at BOBST, and how and with which machine?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. We mentioned this kind of labels during the presentations, and we actually can print them both on our Flexo machines. I would say would be ideally printed on our Master M5, but you could also print them, and this is something, let's say, distinctive from also from our competitions. You can print them on our Master DM5. So basically you would need what is called the turn bar as an accessories on the rail, and what we call the combo coupon. So is an unwinder and rewinder that you place on the rail to put, let's say, the second reel, the second reels that will be stitched to the first page. So basically you print what you see. If we are talking about the Master DM5, you print what you see on the first page, you print it on the digital modules, and all the rest you print on the Flexo modules. That would be the ideal solution for to print this kind of labels on the master DN5. But then if you want to print multi-layers labels, so up to 3 or 5 layers, we also have dedicated accessories that is called QN3 or QN5, where you can actually print the different pages, and then by a mechanism you can turn them and put everything in one single label.
Okay, thanks. So shrink sleeves are a hot topic these days. Can you print those also with digital inkjet technology of BOBST?
Yeah, obviously we can print some shrink sleeves with digital and with the master DN5, but I would say that everyone knows there is limitations in using UV inkjet in printing this kind of labels because of the shrinkability factor of the inkjet ink. So if you want to print a shrink sleeve for a can, you won't face any problem as on any other digital press. But if you are into shrink sleeve, I would suggest to choose a flexo press. And today I would say that our Master M6 could give you probably the best benefit in for this kind of application.
Okay, thanks. And we're approaching 2 o'clock, so maybe the last question. Do you have any direct food contact solutions at BOBST? Andrea, Patrick.
Okay, I will start with that because
the difficult one.
The difficult one.
I guess it's where it's referring to digital. So yeah. We don't have in digital direct food contact solutions are very rare. There is, I think, dry toner. It's the closest one you can get there. With the current UV inkjet solutions, we don't have direct food contact because of the chemical components in the inks. So this will not change. Indirect food contact, there we will perform very good. And this is another topic. So there we have our specialists in the company. We can, if you contact Andrea or myself, we forward you, and they will tell you in detail what we are looking at and what we can do and what we cannot do. Then in the future, you know that we are working on a water-based platform. There this will be in digital the first real direct food contact compliant technology, where we're going really in that direction to integrate also with other analog technologies in that case. Andrea, I don't know if you have something to add.
Perfect.
Okay. Then I want to thank you, gentlemen, for making this a great webinar. We will share the recording, as I mentioned before, within the next days, and we will also share the contact details. So if anybody in the session has some questions within the upcoming hours or days, please feel free to contact Patrick and/or Andrea. At VIGC, we still have some interesting trainings coming up in the next week. So if you want to learn more on, for example, materials or on digital printing, you definitely need to check our calendar webpage for those 2 very interesting training sessions within the next 2 weeks. Furthermore, we also have a very interesting, for the more creative and pre-press people, event, and it is called After Adobe Max. It will take place in Blue Point in Antwerp, and it is on the 7th of December, so already within 2 weeks. It's a physical event, but we will make it COVID safe, and we will have a lot of interesting speakers about design and creativity in design that will share some thoughts with you in the audience. Next Friday, we will have the next virtual exhibition floor. Then our strategic partner, Canon, will take the stage. So please feel free also to join us this Friday. I want to thank you for participating at this webinar, for your presence. I hope to see you soon, and I wish you a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.